Welcome to BKW Physics. I'm Mr. McConley, and we're just going to set up a circuit here today, and we're going to learn how to correctly use an ammeter and a voltmeter. Now, we've previously learned that voltmeters help you measure the potential in a circuit, whereas ammeters help you measure the current in a circuit, the flow of the electrons. So what I've done is I've made a very simple series circuit. It has two light bulbs and a switch. We have a power supply off the edge of the desk that is controllable, but I set that up ahead of time so when I close the switch, the electricity, the electrons, the current is allowed to flow, and the two light bulbs turn on. Now, if I were interested in knowing how much potential was going to this light bulb or to this light bulb, I would want to use a voltmeter. And this particular voltmeter right here, I've set it up with banana plugs plugged into the two posts, the positive and the negative posts, and then alligators on the other end. So what I can do with a voltmeter, I leave the circuit totally as it was. I don't touch anything. I just leave it running like this. And then I can take my two alligators and I can clip them. That's backwards. I can clip them on either side of the light bulb in this case. So I got one clipped on that side, one clipped on that side. And then I'm reading, and I have somewhere, because I'm on the 3 volt scale, so I'm reading the scale that ends in a 3. I'm somewhere around 2.2 volts right there. So this light bulb has a potential of 2.2 volts. I can do the same thing, checking over here, and it looks like this light bulb's the same. No, this light bulb is not getting as much. This is only getting about 1.8 volts of potential. Now the other thing I can do is I can simply check the potential that goes to both of them. So I go from the beginning of one to the end of the other. Now I'm going to have to switch scales because I maxed out my scale. So now I went to the 15 volt scale, and I can see that in total I'm somewhere around 4 volts. So these two combined are using about 4 volts. And I can also check that at the source. So I'm going to ask my assistant Sally here to touch one to each of those. See if you can just push it into the end of the banana a little bit. I know it's an alligator in a banana, but we'll see if we can make that work. Perfect. We're getting a reading, and we're noticing it is about 4 volts, which makes sense because all the voltage is coming out of the source, and between these two light bulbs, they're using all the potential. Okay? So that kind of makes sense. You can see that there's nothing else using electricity, so the potential was used by these two. Great. Okay, you can unplug those. The next thing we're going to move to, so that's measuring your potential with a voltmeter. Now we have an ammeter. Ammeters look very similar. The scales are very different though. They usually read 50, 500, and 5. And what that means is 50 milliamps, 500 milliamps, and 5 amps. So 0.05, 0.5, and 5. Now, when you use an ammeter, the process is a little bit different. All the electricity has to flow through the ammeter. See, the voltmeter, I should back up to that. The voltmeter, remember, we left the circuit running and we hooked it up. And that's called hooking something up in parallel. So the electricity continues to go around the circuit, but it also can do a parallel loop and go into the voltmeter. Ammeter's different. Ammeter's different. Ammeters have to be in series. All the electricity that's going around this also has to go through this. So to make that happen, we actually have to change our circuit a little bit. For a moment, we're going to disconnect this wire. I've just broken the circuit. And in its place, I'm going to connect the ammeter. So now the electricity comes out of the source, goes through the ammeter, continues to the light bulbs, switch, and back home again. So this is called in series because all the electricity has to go through this. And if I disconnect this, nothing works. Light bulbs turn off. So everything's going through the ammeter. And I'm on the 500 milliamp scale. I'm right around 200, so I have 0.2 amps of current. 0.2 amps of current. Now, I could check it at different spots. So if I want to check it at different spots, though, it's a little more tedious because I got to disconnect it again. And I have to reconnect it. So I broke the circuit. I reconnect it, so now the electricity is coming up, going through the first bulb, flowing through the ammeter and continuing on, and I still get 0.2. And we're kind of learning a pattern here, but I'll try it one more spot just for fun. So let's try it over here. So now I know this is looking sloppy, but the electricity comes up, goes through the light bulb, through the second light bulb, through the ammeter. I should probably put the ammeter over here so you can see. And then back to where it started, and we're still at 0.2. So you kind of see that the flow of the electrons is the same anywhere in this series circuit. And that's a rule that we'll get to later. But for today, you've learned how to use ammeters and voltmeters. Physics.